Wait, now that sounds like Moana or something, though.
No, it's definitely Survivor. And anybody that listens at home and goes, "That's Survivor. Lacey's really good at that." You've been voted off,
Be our
John.
new intro music for this podcast. That's good.
And I will get sued.
You doing that on a loop.
Jeff Probst, what up?
Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new podcast called Nerdy and Nice, because Mondays are for the nerds. Welcome everybody to this brand new pop culture podcast from us here at TRB. My name is John Hoey. I am a co-host on the Star Wars podcast, The Resistance Broadcast, for the last 7 years, alongside my co-host Lacey Gilleran. And we've been talking about Star Wars for a very long time, and we felt like our nerdiness that we have in our normal lives about all sorts of other things, other movies, other IPs, other interesting and fun things, the way we love Star Wars, we wanted to express that and branch out, and that spawned Nerdy and Nice, which is going to come to you every Monday on your favorite podcast app and the TRB YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. And again, I'm John, that's Lacey. Lacey, what would you like for people who are just finding us, who maybe don't like Star Wars, or they're just checking this out for the first time? What would you like them to know about you, and what you're looking forward to on Nerdy and Nice?
Yeah, this is so exciting because John and I have been talking a lot of Star Wars for a very long time. I've been a part of TRB, the Resistance Broadcast, for about 6 years now. And we found oftentimes, despite everyone loving our Star Wars talk all the time, every once in a while there'd be glimmers of other things that we would discuss, little tangents about different pop culture movies or references or jokes or whatever. And people would connect with that and they'd be like, I want more of that. So that's kind of where this came from. This idea spun from those tangents that you guys have said that you've loved over the years. And we hope to bring you something that's fun and entertaining and goes over the pop culture news that's happening, as well as some nostalgic things that made us who we are as people. You know, I like outside of Star Wars. We always get this question: what do we like outside of Star Wars? I like Marvel, DC. I love Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, like you name it, I like it. And I've been a Star Wars fan since second grade, but I've loved all these other things throughout my whole life. I've been in the pop culture space for a long time, as well as a creator and in my career and stuff. So yeah, I'm just excited to talk about these things and get into the stuff that I love obsessing about.
Yeah, and it's, if you are a fan of ours or you've been a listener of TRB, it's going to be the same flavor. It's the same personalities. We are us. It's just going to be expanded about all these other things that we know you also like too. Like, I have just recently got back into pro wrestling because of all the changes they're making. I love old classic Disney movies. Herbie the Love Bug. Love Bug's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Ghostbusters. All the things I grew up on. Ninja Turtles, Spielberg, Jurassic Park, Superman, Batman, DC, Marvel a little bit. All sorts of stuff that we're going to get into, including, just talking about what's happening in entertainment just from a general trending perspective. Not necessarily like movies themselves, but, can you believe what that actor did on this blank here? And, we're going to get into all that because it's just fun to nerd out, and we're glad to do that. And that's why we've sort of coined the phrase Mondays are now for the nerds, and we're here to nerd out with you. And we're very excited for you to join us. Thank you so much. If you are listening to this, you've obviously found either the channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcast, or you found Nerdy and Nice on your favorite podcast app. The only thing we ask you to do now is please rate us. If it has a rating system, rate us 5 stars if you love us. Hopefully you do. And leave a review. It helps us show up in searches and all that good stuff as we try to start this podcast from the ground up the way we did TRB so many years ago. And just so you know, if you are a fan of the Resistance Broadcast, nothing's changing. It's not going anywhere. It's still with you every week, Thursday nights live into your favorite podcast apps on Friday. So if and also, Lacey, if they just found Nerdy and Nice for the first time and they happen to be a Star Wars fan, good news for them, because we've had a Star Wars podcast going on.
Spoiler alert.
Years. Yeah. So it's going to be a really good time. Anything else for our new listeners, old listeners about Nerdy and Nice? I mean, we could touch on Patreon maybe a bit later. Because,
maybe at the end. Let's prove to them why they should be a part of our Patreon.
Yeah. So why don't we get into the show, and we're going to get into our first segment, which we're simply calling What's Happening?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Enough, I get the point.
All right, guys. So there was a lot of interesting news this past week and a lot of things happening in pop culture. So first, it seems to be the year of Ryan Gosling. There's a lot of him going around. He is having like his moment. He's been waiting and he's back. From the performance he gave at the Oscars to now, he was just on SNL, which one of my favorite skits ever, by the way, was a skit from his previous hosting at SNL when he did the Alien skit with Kate McKinnon.
They brought it back. You know that?
I know they did. But I'm saying the original one where he couldn't keep it together was hilarious. So recently he was on SNL and he dressed up as Beavis and Butthead with Mikey Day. It was a hilarious skit. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's with Kenan Thompson. I don't know how that man keeps it together. Kenan is like unbreakable. Like he will not break character at any moment. Shout out to all that. Grew up with that.
He's been on SNL for like 15 years.
I know, but I just like to feel like I knew him when he was younger, Kenan. You know?
I knew him when he was Knuckle Puck in the Mighty Ducks 2.
Oh, right. Yeah, totally. But yeah, so Ryan Gosling was on there. He dresses up as Beavis and Butthead with Mikey Day, and Ryan has a new movie coming out called The Fall Guy, and it's a big stunt movie. They've been doing crazy marketing for this.
Looks good.
I feel like as soon as Barbie turned up the money and attention on marketing, every other movie's doing that now. From Planet of the Apes to The Fall Guy, they're just doing crazy. They did the stunt show at Universal. They had Ryan Gosling there to do that. But this somewhat stunt that he did this past week was they dressed up again as Beavis and Butthead on the red carpet for The Fall Guy.
Unbelievable.
They just showed up as these two characters. Emily Blunt was like, what is happening? Who's also in the movie with them.
Right.
John, what are your thoughts on this thing?
So I don't really watch SNL that much anymore, but I've always been a Ryan Gosling fan, and he knows how to read a room, and he knows how to get what he needs from his audience. Like he's very, very good at that, which in turn makes him good at this, what they call organic marketing, where the actors are sort of making this stuff happen without actual advertisement ad space. They're doing it when they're out and about or when they're on these shows. And I don't think there's anybody better than him right now at that.
He'll do anything. And I think that's back from his Mickey Mouse Club days.
Yeah. And even when he was promoting Blade Runner 2049 with Harrison Ford, who can be stuffy in interviews because he doesn't like effortless questions. You know what I'm saying? Like Harrison Ford gets a little rigid when he's going through those motions. And Ryan Gosling brought a lot of life out of him in those junkets. And that's put that on your resume in terms of learning how to, promote your movie or whatever, is being able to get Harrison Ford to liven up and get loose and be himself. And he did that. And Harrison Ford loved Ryan Gosling. Then from there, he goes on to obviously Barbie and everything else he's doing. And the marketing for Barbie speaks for itself. I'm Just Ken.
Oh, the Oscars performance.
You brought up the Oscars performance. He's at this level of confidence and just popularity that I don't know that we've seen in a very, very long time. And it's pretty wild. And I'm curious how long that wave's going to ride out. But he's killing it right now. And back to what I was saying, like, I felt like I had to watch that episode of SNL. So I popped it on. It wasn't live. I think I watched it like on demand after.
Did you watch it on Peacock or whatever?
YouTube TV, I think.
YouTube.
And when I got to that skit, I was laughing so hard because just I was trying to think of like who came up with this idea of these two random guys who aren't Beavis and Butthead, who don't know each other, who both happen to have looked just like Beavis and Butthead. And so when she's pointing and he's looking back behind him as though he doesn't know she's talking about him, I was dying laughing.
And he's so good too. Yeah, so he doesn't break character.
So then he goes on the red carpet of his new movie, which opened this past weekend. It's supposed to do around 35 million or so. We'll get the final totals today, of course. And I don't obsess too much over box office, but I'm sure we'll talk about it on this podcast for things that maybe need to hit box office and that sort of thing. But he just goes for it, and he brings Mikey Day out there, and they both show up on the red carpet dressed in their Beavis and Butthead stuff. And like you were saying, they were getting interviewed, and they were there with Emily Blunt, and like not breaking that SNL canon. They were Jeff and Dean, these two guys who don't understand why people think they look like Beavis and Butthead. I thought it was incredible. What a move.
And they started doing the laugh too. They're like, yeah. And Keenan's like, they're doing the thing. It was just so great. And the fact that he brought it out to the red carpet for his new movie, just Ryan Gosling seems like a guy who's just knows, he doesn't take it for granted. He knows what situation he's in, and he's enjoying himself. And he said he makes a lot of his role choices because of his family. He doesn't try to do dark stuff as much anymore. And he just seems to be having the time of his life, exploiting the absurdities of the 80s and 90s and making them fun in the 2020s. Also, just his own time. He's saying, I'm here anyway. I might as well get something out of it. Like today, he was doing a press conference or some type of interview. He's wearing a shirt with the logo of his wife, Eva Mendes's book. So it just had her book title on the shirt, and he's just going through these interviews with her books, like a little promotion. So then she shares it on Instagram. She goes, "That's my man, like sharing my book." And it's like they had the conversation of like, "Hey, can you wear this T-shirt to promote my book while you're on this press tour?" Now, John,
incredible.
Do you think that it could lead to something more than just these little skits?
Well, I was born in 82, so I was a kid when Beavis and Butthead came out, and it was like the right time. MTV was still really popular, and I always loved Beavis and Butthead. I thought Mike Judge was so funny. And, the whole Cornholio thing, like Beavis and Butthead was, for people who don't understand, Beavis and Butthead was huge for a low budget, crappy animated MTV short to what it turned into. It had major motion pictures, multiple ones. It unbelievable. I think it helped MTV in the 90s, like sort of morph into added content that wasn't reality TV, But so I've always loved Beavis and Butthead. So when I saw this, I thought that was so cool. I think it would be really funny if they did something. My only thing is, would it be too much and then make it not funny anymore? And that makes me a little nervous. So while
I already am at that place, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, while
I don't find Beavis and Butthead funny. So like,
oh well, there you go.
The skit was hilarious with Kenan Thompson because it's so ridiculous. Like you said, like these two guys who don't know, like the whole concept is ridiculous. Him showing up on the red carpet, you have this moment of like, oh my God, he did it again. Haha, that's funny. Emily Blunt's reaction, hilarious. But like, then it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm good. I'm good now.
You want to leave people wanting more and not do it again. That's winning.
Yes, I don't think he will. I think this is it, but I'm curious to see if people want more. Because
let's not forget, they optioned. Remember the caveman, the Geico caveman?
Oh my gosh, they made a TV show.
That became so popular. They made a TV show. It flopped, and then the cavemen disappeared. And they went back to the gecko. I think that's probably what would happen here. So I don't think they do it. They'll do it. I don't think they should. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, I want them to do that because it's so funny and I want to laugh more. But you also have to have the responsibility as a fan to be like, I hope they kind of don't, so that I can watch that skit and it still be funny.
Because then it's just too much. But nowadays it's like everything is too much. It feels like as soon as something catches on, then they keep going and going and going to the point that you're like, okay, enough. But we'll see. I was always a big fan of Daria. That was like the show I really liked growing up.
Oh, that's interesting because she debuted. It was like a spinoff of Beavis and Butthead.
I like that show. That show was funny to me. My older sister always said that I was like the cheerleader sister that was like super annoying.
You know what they're gonna do?
What?
Which you were annoying?
Yeah, to my older sister, I was. It's okay.
No.
All siblings are annoying at some point.
No comment.
Shut up.
I bet what they'll do is if he ever hosts it again, they'll do the skit again and they'll bring a Daria into it.
Oh, or like some other character. Yeah.
It'll be
I
some
can see that
girl
happening.
dressed up and look just like Daria who's like, what?
It better be Audrey Plaza because she's already done that joke.
Oh yeah, she would be good at that. Did you say Audrey? I thought it was Aubrey.
Aubrey. Sorry. Did I say
Yeah.
Audrey? I meant Aubrey. My bad.
If she ever heard you say that, I feel like she would like slap you.
You know what it is? It's like one of my family members just had a kid and named it Audrey. Named daughter Audrey.
Nice.
Anyway. That being said,
yeah.
You know what I'm super interested in, but will never happen. Just like hopefully Beavis and Butthead will never happen. This will never happen is me staying in the iconic Icons collection for Airbnb, which came out this week. So every summer so far, past couple of years, I think it's like this is going to be the third year. Airbnb introduces a new icon collection that will feature iconic stays, and the opportunity to stay in the X-Men 97 mansion in the lovely Westchester, New York, which is right near John and I. Probably a good 45 minutes from me. It's kind of funny that they're like the iconic Westchester. And I'm like, really? You want to go to Westchester? For people watching at home, I'm going to bring it up onto the screen. You can see it here. So it says, step into X-Men 97. Live like the X-Men as you stay in a 2D animated recreation of Marvel's animated X-Mansion in Westchester, New York. You'll discover your mutant abilities and even train in the Danger Room.
Lacey, is this now confirmed for me and the audience? Because I believe this is real, but this isn't one of those Wonka hoodwink things where people show up and it's like a creepy dude in like a pasta stained wife beater with like plastic knives as Wolverine claws.
No, it is absolutely real. The cool thing is that they took this house that is the house that they use, I believe, in the movie, or looks like the house that they use in the movie. And then they took the inside and built it out as a set for the X-Men 97. And all the things are painted in detail like
That's
they
very cool.
are in the cartoon. Yeah. So like it looks like you could be in the space, even though it's real. It has that like cool like black lining that they line to make it look like a cartoon. So they did it on every surface in this house. So you can stay in Wolverine's room. You can go sit at, stay in other rooms, go sit in the
go to
command chair and stuff. Yeah. Rogue's room. Yeah. It's just kind of crazy. I do laugh though, because I know people were like, what would you do in this house? Because you only really get to stay for, I believe, a day or two and one day
probably
stay.
Hang out with Rogue.
She's not going to be there.
Oh.
But I mean, it is super, super cool. And if you're an X-Men fan, which I love the X-Men, I wouldn't say I'm a diehard fan. If you're a diehard fan, this is intense. Like you're online waiting for this to drop. They said that most of these icon stays are either $100 or less to stay. And they're doing up to 4,000 stays in the next year that you can.
Should we go?
Should we go? We could go. Good luck getting it, but we could. We totally could. And they even have the head in the yard. What?
Oh, the Sentinel head. Yeah. You have to walk into that house with earbuds on playing the animated theme of the X-Men. Like you have to. Because that's one of the best, I think our audience would admit, that's one of the best intro songs for any TV show. It's so good.
A lot of people believe that. And that's not the only stay you can make, John. You can also stay in the house from Up.
People are going to think we work for this company.
I know, but this is insane. And the reason it's so insane is because they actually have this balloon house on a crane. So they will pull it up from the ground while you're in it. Like it really floats. They said sleep inside one of Disney and Pixar's most iconic homes. And yes, it floats. You'll explore Carl's world in this detailed recreation of his home, complete with more than 80,000, or sorry, not 80, 8,000 balloons and located in the scenic Red Rocks of New Mexico.
Nope.
I don't know how I would feel about being in a house that's up on a crane. Like, what if it breaks?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Also, it's very sad. You're kind of in like this, like, I love Up. It's one of the best movies that Pixar has ever done. But it's very sad that like Ellie's chair's right there.
Can I tell you a truth?
It's got bran on the kitchen table. That's pretty funny. What?
I have never seen Up.
Oh, shut up.
Well, you know why? Because everyone's like, I was sobbing. I was so sad. I'm like, then why the hell am I going to watch this?
It's so good, John. Oh my gosh. I think I know our first watch along on Patreon. We're watching Up.
I'm at a point in my life. I've always been sensitive and all that. I'm at a point now in my life where it's just like too much. The existentialism has a full grasp on me. It won't let me go.
No, it's so good. It's so good. That is intense, though. Do they? I wonder if they replace the balloons as they pop because they're out in the sun all day in New Mexico.
Those probably aren't real balloons. It's probably like a big thing on the inside.
You don't think so? It says 8,000 balloons.
They're probably like decorative, but I'm sure the real thing is on the inside. Like they're not hinging the fate of these people on little Party Depot balloons.
That is insane, though. And I know they've done other ones like Shrek Swamp. They did the Barbie mansion that everybody went nuts for last summer. Yeah. I mean, that is a good tie-in for marketing. That is they should do a
Star Wars one that costs like $6,000 for 2 days.
Call it the Star Cruiser.
That sounds good.
Yeah, totally. And you could have like activities, and then maybe get on a box truck, and then they'll drive you to Galaxy's Edge.
You get a bowl of Fruit Loops, and away you go on Sunday. All right. We said spice. All right, spice and everything nice. So there you have it. All right, interesting. I want to know if any.
I was going to say, speaking of spice, this next story has a lot of spice.
Yeah, would any of our listeners ever stay in one of those Airbnbs? I'd like to know that.
And which one? Would you go Disney or would you go X-Men?
Which one would you pick?
X-Men. It looked cooler.
Me too. Yeah.
I don't like the idea of being on a crane. Like there's this guy Bob outside and the crane just like, hey guys, you want to float the house? And he's like, Ree! And like, how many videos have you seen online where cranes collapse?
Oh, at least 3.
Just throwing it out there. Happened last week in New York. Just saying.
There's also just like a little chance that like Jean Grey and Rogue are going to be there, and
they're not going to be there. What are you talking about? Why do you keep saying that? They're just hanging out at the house. Get out.
I'll bring my gloves just in case. All right.
Well, I'm not looking back at what you just said. And speaking of not looking back, Chris Hemsworth is not looking back at Thor: Love and Thunder. He is not very happy about it, which I found this quote very interesting. Huge Marvel fan myself. I loved Ragnarok. Some people didn't. You didn't, right? You did not like Ragnarok. Yeah. I have not seen Love and Thunder.
I haven't either.
I fell for people's reviews and thought, I have other things I'd rather watch, and Love and Thunder is not one of them. Well, Chris Hemsworth seems to agree with all of you because he said that he can't forgive himself for that movie. Actual quote, can't forgive himself. He says, I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness, and I became a parody of myself, he says, and I didn't stick the landing. Eesh. So what do you think, John?
I think there's a lot going on with Chris Hemsworth without getting too deep. I know there was that big interview he did where he got, the genetic coding and he has a predisposition for Alzheimer's. Did you hear about this?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
So I think it's real. And he moved, I don't know if, I forget where he moved to, but he moved somewhere not that long ago to be closer with family. It might even been back to Australia. I don't know. But
I thought he went to New Zealand, no?
One of those two. My apologies. But the reason why I say that is I think he has gone through sort of like this post-Marvel, like, reflective thing where he's realizing, the finite element of time, and
Kind of like Donald Glover said, because COVID woke him up to being like,
I
hey,
think
my time is
I feel
valuable.
that a little too.
Yeah.
And I think it's that, but it's also just getting older and stuff. And I think he's just sort of putting things into perspective, and maybe looking back on things a bit differently now. So I don't mind him saying all of that. I think maybe they did take things a little too far. Like, I remember watching Endgame, and it's not. I don't love Endgame. I know for a lot of people that was like it's going to be their core movie going memory experience, and I appreciate that. But like the Lebowski Thor thing, I thought was stupid. I didn't like.
I wasn't a big fan of that.
Beer gut stoner
Dad
Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Thor's supposed to be badass, and I understand what he's saying here. I think Marvel did get a little too crazy and ridiculous, even though it is supposed to be fun in comic books. I understand that. So I see what he's saying. I have no problem with him saying that. I know sometimes with these franchises we love, it hurts hearing an actor say something bad about something you love, because I think there are a lot of people who probably did like Love and Thunder. But Taika, for the most part, has been this fan favorite and untouchable, uncancelable, because he just does his own, marches the beat of his own drum. But I can see how his zaniness may have taken things a bit too far with this one. And again, it's hard for me to say because I haven't seen it, but based on not loving Ragnarok that much, I can understand what he has to say here.
Yeah, I didn't see Love and Thunder. I didn't like Dad Bod Thor either. I was more of a fan of like Thor from the original movie, like this big buff guy that has a heart of gold. Like, that's what I expect from Thor. I loved Ragnarok, where there were moments and glimpses of humor and sarcasm and funniness that like kind of screams Taika. But at the same time, there was a lot of seriousness, and there were these kind of like earnest, honest moments where you really felt for the characters. And I think that sometimes people get a little too wacky. And I believe it's due to the Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool movies. Like, those movies have done a very good job of balancing silly with impactful, meaningful storytelling. They've done a good job.
Did you see Guardians 3?
I have not. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh,
no,
so
I haven't
good.
seen the recent one, the last one.
You haven't?
I have not. I have not seen the last one, but I saw the second one and I didn't really like it. I like the first one.
You like the third one, I think.
Okay, well, you watch up. I'll watch the third Guardians.
All right.
But I think they do a really good job balancing the story and having these deep emotional character development moments with breaks of humor, like we see in many popular movies. I think that what Chris Hemsworth is saying here is like, we went too far. And sometimes that happens. I think people, and including, we just talked about it earlier, like the marketing aspect of things. I think studios sometimes get a little too involved with stories and add a little too much jokey stuff because they want to have those viral moments. They want to have those memes and jokes and stuff like that because that's great for them. But is it good for the story? And again, as you and I have just said, John, there are people that loved this character. There are people that loved the way the movie went. But I'm not seeing that from the general audience that they did like it. I would say that most people didn't like Love and Thunder. So I think that he's, like you said, John, having this reflective moment of like, people didn't really like it. Why didn't they like it? You know, I didn't really like it either. And I'm with you also. I didn't really like Endgame. I don't like the idea of ending a huge franchise with these big deaths. What kind of story is that? And I always go back to the fact that Jon Favreau called the Russo brothers and was like, please don't kill Tony Stark. Like, don't kill Iron Man. And Jon Favreau told them, people will leave your theater and go walk into traffic. And that's how I felt leaving Endgame. I was so depressed. And like, it wasn't hopeful or inspirational or like such a great end to a like to me it was just depressing. Like I don't want all my heroes to die, and that seems to be a trend lately with these stories where they can't end it without people dying, and I just don't think that needs to be the case. So I appreciate Chris Hemsworth's honesty here that he doesn't agree with how it went, and he'd like to see it go a different way. So if he comes back in the multiverse, I'm sure you're going to see a very different Thor.
I am with you on that. What have you heard the fan speculation? I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit in the next segment, but we can talk about it now, I guess. The Deadpool and Wolverine, they're like jumping through the ring.
It's a different multiverse.
Yeah, but are they going to show up in that Thanos battle in a different timeline? Like everyone's, and I believe this too. I think they're all coming back. Yeah. I think that includes Robert Downey Jr. He's almost 60 years old. He finally got his Oscar, so I think there's a comfort level and also probably a like for money. But I think they're all going to come back for one last sort of cash in. That might piss people off and it might devalue Endgame. But you can say Endgame devalued Infinity War because that big dramatic ending of Infinity War got vanquished, and we all knew it would. So
right.
I think they're all going to come back, and I don't know what that means, but this whole like Secret Wars thing, and it's
the Tony Stark stuff has been rumored a lot that he's making his way back.
I think. Yeah, and he was on Joe Rogan, and Rogan's like, "You're going back, right?" And he's like, "Oh, maybe, I don't know." But I think he will. I think they all will, and I just have a feeling it's gonna be this weird, wild, just like every multiverse. So all the Spider-Men, all these different people coming in. It'll be pretty wild, and I just have this feeling that Deadpool and Wolverine might be the catalyst for that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what'd you think about that trailer? I know it's been a couple weeks now since that came out.
I liked it. Yeah. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, so I'm just excited for that. I liked Logan and that ending, but I'm also cool with this. If they're gonna twist and turn and do multi timelines and stuff, then you could still say that Logan timeline is preserved, and then this is this other thing. And they may even poke fun. Like it'd be funny if like one of the scenes in the movie is like Deadpool digging up Wolverine's body or something.
Oh my gosh. Well, the end credits for Deadpool 2 were hilarious when he went back and he like killed himself when he's like looking at the Green Lantern script.
Yeah.
And then he shows up and he's like, look, and he shoots the other Deadpool, the original Deadpool, where he has his mouth welded shut and stuff. He's like, look, and the best part is he keeps shooting him as he's standing there.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Reynolds will always be known to me as Deadpool. No matter where I hear his voice now, I hear Deadpool because that's who it is. From the moment it leaked, that footage leaked, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds, I almost said Ryan Johnson. Ryan Reynolds leaked that. He didn't say he did, but he did. Of him like kicking his legs, drawing with crayons on the overpass where they did like the test footage of what the movie would look like. The moment that dropped, I was like, he's Deadpool. If this doesn't happen with anybody, if it happens with anybody else, it's not going to work. But yeah, I loved, there was so much to take in that trailer. I didn't like Logan. I thought it was, again, too sad. I was like, come on. I just want a nice, fun comic book movie. But I appreciated all the Easter eggs and jokes in the trailer, like the dead Ant-Man that they're all just using as a base. Like that's ridiculous. Or like the real crazy comic book reference of the Rob Liefeld's like foot doctor.
Oh yeah, what is that?
So one of the co-creators of Deadpool is Rob Liefeld. He's one of the people that helped create the character in the comics, and he's famously known for being terrible at drawing feet. So they made it a foot store or a foot doctor because boy can't do feet. And so everybody was laughing about it. And Rob tweeted on, or put it up on X, Twitter, whatever. He put up a quote being like, look, if you think I didn't approve this joke like 9 months ago, like joke's on you because I said it was okay.
Yeah.
But it's just such a fun kind of wacky comic book reference that if you know this guy, he's famously terrible at drawing feet. To the point that like comic book covers, he'll cut people off at like the knees and the shins so he doesn't have to draw their feet.
So Quentin Tarantino does not buy those comics.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, so that kind of stuff was really, really interesting. Just like you said, I'm unsure of how they're going to weave in the multiverse stuff, but as soon as that happened, especially with Loki and all this other thing, Spider-Man, whatever, I think Ryan Reynolds was just sitting at home being like, yes, because he's been asking supposedly for like 7 years for Deadpool and Wolverine to get together. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. I'm so pumped. I think this movie's going to do insane amounts of money.
Yeah, I think it should do really well. And was it Sean Levy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's supposedly doing a Star Wars.
Yeah, as a Star Wars fan, super excited if that becomes a hit, because that'll just increase the confidence. So we'll see what happens there.
As a Stranger Things fan too, because he did the famous Kate Bush episode.
Yes. Running up that hill.
Yeah.
I wonder what Kate Bush did with all that money that she made for the first time in 40 years.
I don't know, but she's on every 80s playlist on Spotify, and anytime I play 80s music, it comes up like song number 2 is that song.
Yeah.
And it's a good song.
Tangent here. I'm very eager for Stranger Things 5. One, because it's, going to end the series. And I soured off of Stranger Things after season 3, but I thought season 4 was awesome. Like, I thought season 4 was the best season yet.
Season 4 was very more back in its bag of being a horror show.
Yeah, Vecna, that guy was amazing.
Oh my god, the death scene in the beginning with Christy the cheerleader. Oof.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Jamie Campbell Bower. That guy is good stuff. And he seems to be a real fan. Like, I've seen clips of him at conventions. He really
He's in Twilight.
Oh, is he? Does he play like one of the brothers or something?
He's in the Volturi.
I don't know what that is.
They're the ancient vampires from Italy that kind of oversee all the other vampires. He's also in another kind of vampire movie, or what? He's in that, not a vampire movie. He's in the one that Lily Collins is in, where they draw marks on themselves and they get special powers. What is that called? Oh my god, I'm losing it.
That is
Shadowhunters.
Yeah, maybe.
Which it was a movie and then they made it a TV show.
Interesting. Did you know that Lily Collins is the daughter of your favorite musician?
Lily Collins. Yeah. Yes, but supposedly he's a terrible dad to her. So
Oh.
I do like Emily in Paris, though, speaking of Lily Collins. So when that next season comes up, we'll be discussing that. Do you watch Emily in Paris?
No.
Which they announced that it isn't Emily in Paris, by the way. It should be pronounced Emily in Paris, but nobody says that.
Yeah.
Would you believe I love a show that's about a girl going to Paris that's a social media marketing person?
I mean, I've said this before, like, all the jobs in these movies are all like in some form of media.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely bananas. We have a couple more stories in the news before we get to our next segment, and they both involve Johnsons.
It's true. And I was also going to say, who needs better media relations is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, who has been blasted for allegedly unprofessionalism, peeing in water bottles, and being hours late to set, according to The Wrap. Yeah, I would believe this. I mean, Vin Diesel's been rumored to be late to set sometimes, so it wouldn't surprise me that someone might have an ego like The Rock. But the peeing in the water bottles thing is it's too much for me. Like, I get people that are like, I'm too busy, I'll show up when I want to, but peeing and then giving it to your assistant and being like, go handle this, that's when you quit the job. At least that's me anyway.
Yeah. The amount of steroids in that pee too just must be out of control.
Oh my God. I mean, what do you think about this? I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely insane.
I don't want to sit here because I don't know if this is
true.
One person's take, because The Rock has been around, if you include wrestling, for 28 years.
Sure.
Mostly we've heard only good things about him. Who's that actress who came out and didn't name names, but she said like she
Rebecca
had
Ferguson.
Yeah. He came out in support of her, and she sort of said like, "Thank you, Dwayne. It was so great working with you."
Because he didn't want to be the one people thought it was.
I completely understand that, but she corroborated it, saying like, "Thank you, Dwayne, for your support." So crossed him off that list.
Sure.
So she who is willing to put herself on the line by calling out people's mistreatment of her had a good experience with The Rock. So you got that. But recently, WrestleMania, I believe he was like 2 or 3 hours late for his media appearance to that. So that adds a little truth to the lateness thing. Let's put it this way. What if there was a weird situation one time where something was wrong with the bathroom or someone was using it, I don't know, and he, on a one-off deal, had to make a choice. Am I peeing all over the place?
Stuck with him?
Or am I peeing in this bottle? And then someone's like, I hate that guy. I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what is real here. He hasn't commented on this, so I'm not going to go out and kill The Rock, who I've liked for a long time. But at the same time, he did pretty much destroy the return of Henry Cavill's Superman because Black Adam sucked so bad.
Oh, it was so bad. Yeah, that's what I heard.
And that breaks my heart because you know me, I love Henry Cavill's Superman. And I was so happy when he said to Josh Horowitz, I'm back. I'm coming back. And then he comes back in that cameo in Black Adam. Black Adam stinks because The Rock had to make certain choices and had power over the production of that movie. And it just flopped. And that was the end of Henry Cavill. So I have my beefs with The Rock. He's still the people's champion. And I love what he's doing in WWE right now, too. Like, I thought that he almost made me want to really get back into wrestling, which I'm starting to dip my toe back into. I'm not going to lie. So I can't make we have to revisit this when we get more details. When he responds to this, we'll have to bring it back. But what do you think? What do you make of it?
I would believe it. I mean, I used to work at WWE years and years ago, and people on those sets and in those stadiums have egos, and they get told yes, 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 yes. They never get told no. And over time, you kind of forget what's proper etiquette. So I would believe that he probably does this because he shows up late to set, which, by the way, the majority of the rumor was he shows up late to set costing, I think it was Red Note from Netflix, like $50 million or something in production because he showed up late all the time, which then added to the story of he's peeing in bottles. So if someone's late all the time and they're like, I can't take a bathroom break because I showed up so late, then they're peeing in bottles. It's just, I don't know, not a good look.
I'm just saying, let's hear what he has to say and due process and all that, because
I do believe also he donated a ton of money to the actors strike too. I remember him, I think $1 million, couple million.
Yeah, and he, I believe, was also heavily involved in trying to help Maui from all the fires.
Yeah. Which he's currently recording or working on the live action Maui for Disney. And
he did Moana too, the voice. I know that.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, I will meet you halfway and say that maybe part of this is true and part of it isn't, but I'm still kind of believing it's more true than not. And
speaking of live action Disney remakes, we're going to talk about that Mufasa trailer in a little bit here. But we have more stories. What's this other one now? You were like, can we throw this one on?
The last quick story, also about a Johnson, as John said. It is an upcoming rom-com called Materialists, which is from A24, which is set to star Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans, supposedly. Now, I haven't seen Chris Evans on set, but pictures leaked this week of Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal on set together, with Pedro Pascal giving her this big bouquet of roses. And they had this like billboard with his face on it, and he was playing like a mayor character. But it's a follow-up to Celine Song's Past Lives film from last year, and is a New York set rom-com. There you go, John. following a high-end matchmaker who gets involved with a wealthy man. This sounds like the perfect movie for me.
Is Mando the wealthy man?
What? Yes, he is. He is the wealthy man. So the question is she going to stick with the wealthy man or leave him for the Chris Evans role?
Interesting.
Who would turn down Pedro Pascal?
If I had to guess the plot of this movie without knowing anything about it.
Go ahead, guess it. It's called Materialists.
Chris Evans is going to be the villain, but we're not going to think he is at first. Pedro Pascal is going to be that guy who like messes up because he's rich, and then he gives it all up to be with her. That's what's going to happen.
He's the mayor.
He's going to give it all up for her.
Being a mayor?
I don't know about that. Mayor Schmair, Madam Webb, will you be my wife?
I was going to say, but she's coming off Madam Webb, so maybe she'll take
By the way, I love Dakota Johnson. She's
hilarious.
I know she's a Nepo baby. I don't care, man. I think she is very candid. I liked her calling Ellen out on her BS because
that's not what happened, Ellen.
Yeah,
actually, that's not true.
Yeah, and that was before everyone really found out that Ellen was probably not the greatest person in the world to her staff and whatever.
You want to see something hilarious? Watch her, I think, Architecture Digest interview where they tour her home, and she takes the camera around. No, Dakota Johnson. They take her around her home, and she like explains things in her home, and she does this whole bit where it became a meme of like. She goes, I really like these limes. I just like having limes in the house. And she does this whole thing about like how she lives. And then it ended up that she didn't put those limes there. Someone else did. So she's doing this whole thing being like, yes, the limes. I love limes. And then it came out later that like she had nothing to do with that. It was like someone set the scene with all these limes.
Yeah, really So she's the daughter of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume partly raised by Antonio Banderas, but for someone who's been around fame for that long, she really does seem, unless she's really good at pretending, she does seem to have a very down-to-earth disposition about her. And you don't see that a lot from just actors, let alone people who come from royalty, so to speak. So yeah, she was given the speed pass to success, but I think she's talented. I think maybe she needs some better roles. I don't know if this is one of them. Maybe she's seeing, Sydney Sweeney just killing it with the rom-com thing, and that's the way to go. But either way, because I know she did like 50 Shades of Grey, which is more of a
I think rom-coms are making a comeback right now. We're in the rom-com time because rom-coms are cheap to make.
And they're
people
easy to digest. They usually have a nice tied up bow at the end, and you feel good. And people need that now. I feel like more than ever. So I'm a fan of hers. So I hope she has success. I don't know if I'm going to watch this one. Depends. But I like rom-coms, but I like good rom-coms. I'm not like you. I don't like all the rom-coms.
Every rom-com, I will enjoy all of it. But that's it for the news this week.
All right. So what's next? Where are we going next? Are we going to a segment called, what is it called, Lacey? What is it called?
Trailer time.
Trailer time!
Oh, God, I love that movie.
All right, it's trailer time. So we probably won't do this segment every week, but if there is a big hot trailer that had come out, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to use this segment to do that. And we have two we're going to talk about here. One of the trailers came out a few weeks ago, but a featurette did come out for it, and that's Young Woman in the Sea. So let's just start there, I guess, Lacey.
Sure.
Daisy Ridley, we're both big fans. We've always been rooting for Daisy. Had you had any interest in this movie, and did seeing the trailer or that featurette that just came out change that for you? I don't really know this story or this person, but I will say this: that featurette was very kind of inspiring, and the music was certainly a part of it, but it made me more interested in finding out about this story. Where are you at with Young Woman in the Sea?
Yeah, so a little background for people. Disney's Young Woman in the Sea is the extraordinary true story of Trudy Ederle, the first woman to successfully swim the English Channel, is coming to theaters nationwide May 31st. I wasn't interested in this originally. I love Daisy. She's done a bunch of different things like Ophelia and whatnot, and I haven't seen them. I'm gonna be honest. Like Chaos Walking, I heard was terrible. I did see the train Murder on the Orient Express, and she was okay in that. She was okay. But from what I understand, the stuff that's been coming out lately with her, Marcia's Daughter, Sometimes I Think About Dying, and this one are amazing. And people keep saying that. And I read an article about a month and a half ago, if not a month ago, that said that she was on the short list for Oscar nominations next year for this movie.
What?
For Young
Really?
Woman in the Sea. Yeah, she's on the short list.
Wow, you know what that means?
So that made me interested to see it.
Imagine if Daisy Ridley wins an Oscar and shows up to Star Wars Celebration next April as Oscar winner Daisy Ridley to promote the return of Rey.
Bananas, right? So like that made me, to answer your question, that made me want to see it, because I'm like, if it's getting this much praise and it's up on the short list, that must mean she does an amazing job. Now the trailer sells it very well, but it's very bizarre hearing her do an American accent.
It's very interesting.
It throws me.
You brought up that weird movie she did where she's a yoga instructor in a video.
Or it was like
Pascal
yeah.
imagines her telling him to do sexual things, but that's also in an American accent too, I believe.
Which caught people off guard.
Yeah.
She like comes on to him, and it's very weird because it was like Mandalorian and Rey Skywalker.
I know. Yeah.
Scene. It was very weird.
Yeah, I'm always going to root for Daisy Ridley, so I hope this becomes successful. And it did make me more interested. I don't know if I'm going to go out to. I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm going to make it to a theater to see this one, because I'll wait for
Disney Plus.
Yeah, my theater going is less and less these days with the two little kids. I actually did on Saturday take my son Johnny to his first movie. We saw The Phantom Menace, came back in theaters.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a good time?
A blast. We brought the lightsabers. We got the big popcorn, the ices. Good time. So, but I don't get to go to the movies that often, and I don't know that this would be the one I would pick, but I hope it is successful because I am a big Daisy Ridley fan, and I have seen some of her other stuff. I did see Murder on the Orient Express. She had not a huge part, but I thought she did really good in that. And she looked beautiful. She looked like an old starlet. It was really cool.
Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah.
And then I wanted to see Sometimes I Think About Dying, and I still probably will. And she's coming back to Star Wars, so that's awesome too. But I hope it's successful. We'll see. If she is nominated for an Oscar, she won't have to compete with Lady Gaga, because I think Lady Gaga will be going for a supporting actor because she's the supporting character to the Joker.
She's not the lead, yeah.
I think Gaga is going to be nominated too, though. I think that movie is going to be huge.
You did tweet that.
Because it's musical and she can play crazy. I think she's going to absolutely annihilate that role. And he already won. Joaquin Phoenix already won an Oscar for Joker. So it's that, like, whatever you want to call it, that Joker thing is proven to be something that you can win awards doing. So we'll see what Todd Phillips brings to the table for this. Joaquin Phoenix rarely does sequels, so
yeah, she's all about the big crazy moments, right? Like that's her whole career is like big crazy stuff.
Lady Gaga's crushing it. So imagine seeing Daisy Ridley nominated for an Oscar and then Lady Gaga also nominated the same year. I'll watch that Oscars for sure.
This one this past year was pretty good.
Well, we talk about Ryan Gosling, right? Yeah.
I mean, he's the only one I cared about, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, I'm not Ken, but I am excited about...
You're Knuff, though.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very nerdy and nice of you. All right. I am excited about Lion King Mufasa. Even though my dude, Jon Favreau, has handed over the reins. And I actually didn't love the live action Lion King, and I haven't been huge on these remakes, but this is different because this doesn't exist in animated. This is an original because it's this prequel. And I want to ask you, what do you think about the trailer for Lion King Mufasa? After watching it probably a few times, are you a Lion King fan, and what do you think of this potential story?
I love The Lion King. I grew up with it. I think this trailer is a pretty straightforward, tugging on your nostalgia. Hey, remember this, remember that. Little glimpses of characters here and there. Yeah, at the beginning. The actual CG visual effects look amazing. It's a stunning
Really
film.
do. Yeah.
I am interested at some of the cast. Anika Nani Rose is Mufasa's mother, who also plays Princess Tiana in Princess and the Frog, which, as we all know, the new ride is the Splash Mountain is now the Princess Tiana ride. So I'm interested to see what comes of that ride. But back to this, Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, is Kiara, the daughter of King Simba and Queen Nala. So the idea is that this movie is them telling her this story of like what happened in the past. I think it's going to be cool. I'll watch it. I like new things. You know, it's different when you're like you said, like when you're redoing something that's already been done. I kind of like, I'm like, I've already seen this. It's already perfect. Like The Lion King from 1995-96 is like perfect. Why would you change that? So I had no want to see the new one. But this I do want to see because it's a completely new story.
Yeah, and you know what's so strange is I'm looking at Aaron Pierre, who's voicing Mufasa. Obviously, you know, you need a younger voice than an adult Mufasa. But
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
As Simba, yeah.
But
he's clearly going to grow into adult Mufasa in this movie, and that's where, you know, Aaron Pierre is probably going to get into the mix here. He's 30 years old. But you look him up and look at images, he kind of looks like a young James Earl Jones.
He does.
Got, like, bluish eyes. It's very odd. But yeah, for our listeners, look up. You may not know him. You know, he's Aaron Pierre. He's voicing Mufasa in this movie, filling the shoes of James Earl Jones. And just look him up and do a side by side and look up young pictures of James Earl Jones. It's kind of strange.
He's stunning, though. Oh my god, he's so good looking. It's ridiculous.
All right, let's take it. All right, that's enough.
I'm just saying, some people you see and you're just like, wow, picking favorites. God's picking favorites.
I wouldn't know. All right. So I have this weird feeling, though, that at the end of the movie we're gonna get one scene of like full adult Mufasa, and they got like James Earl Jones to pop one line in for us or something, you know?
You think? I think so too. I think we'll get.
I like the bridge. I love the just like one movie holding out the other's hand and just grabbing it and being like, all right,
remember me, we're here.
Yeah. But it does look really good. And when does it come out? December? We're doing Christmas time?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's going to do really well. I mean, I don't know if billion, it's hard. Like back a few years ago, we were like, oh yeah, all these movies are going to make $1 billion. Now $1 billion is back being this achievement. Sort of like
December 20th, by the way.
Like when they took the steroids out of baseball, they're like 30 home runs actually matters again. It's not, you know, all these schlubs. There were guys who would hit like 50 home runs and not win the MVP. Baseball was nuts. But here we are, post-COVID, post-strikes, movie theaters doing what they can to bring people back into the theater. Actually, I bought the Ghostbusters trap from AMC, and I didn't even go to see Frozen Empire yet because I don't get to go to the movies a lot. But you hate when I do this. I bought it online, and I got the trap. And
why do I hate that?
Yeah.
Why would I
grab
hate
it?
that?
Let me show you.
Okay, but why would I hate that? You said you hate when I do this. What do I hate?
Well, you always make fun of me for buying everything online.
No, I don't. I buy all my stuff online. What are you talking about?
When I bought, what did I buy? A chainsaw. You're like, of course you bought that online. And,
yeah. See, but that's different. You're buying toys online is one thing. You like DoorDash yourself, Starbucks. You buy all your stuff.
Oh, that happened one time.
Your house.
All right, so check it out. This thing is legit. All right, I got it from AMC Theaters for Ghostbusters. The trap doors open, and then what this does here is it's a little LED light that shines up, and you put the popcorn tray in, and it like shoots the light up, and it's like the knobs turn. It's not like a rinky-dink thing. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's the
And
new hot thing, right? Popcorn buckets from Dune and Barbie.
That's what they're trying to do to get more people into the theaters. Yeah, no doubt about it.
They're doing fancy popcorn buckets. Yeah.
I just thought this is really cool. And if you are a Ghostbusters fan and you like popcorn, go pick one of these up. I'm not endorsed by this at all. This is our first episode of this podcast. I'm just telling you, as a nerd who loves Ghostbusters, it makes me want to pull out some tablecloths and have the flowers still standing. That's all I will say.
I was pretty pumped about the popcorn bucket from Disney. That's the Pixar Fest one, which is the pizza truck that has aliens in it that you pull it back and it will drive. Oh my gosh, I love that little pizza truck.
I do like pizza, so
yeah, I want it so bad. I got to find someone to get it for me because I think it's only California.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, anything else on Lion King before I throw it to you for our last segment of our first episode?
No, but I'd like to know what you're watching.
We can never leave the house, and we'd just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
So let's talk about what we've been watching lately. Whether that's new streaming shows, reality TV, classic shows, sports events. Really, we're going to talk about sports? I just read that out of the notes. We're talking about sports?
Can we talk about sports once in a while, like the Yankees?
What you watching?
Series well, I watched the Yankees. You know that. I started. I haven't finished it yet. I'm about 75% of the way through Baby Reindeer on Netflix.
Everybody's talking about that show.
This show is messed up.
I haven't watched it. It's on my list. I have a list of things. Like some people have to be read lists, like of books. I have to be watched.
It's about stalkers, but there's also a lot of drug rapey stuff.
Isn't it based on a true story?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's getting rape. It's really well made. It's just very dark. And I don't know how it ends yet, so maybe that will change my perspective on it. It has my attention, and that says enough.
I don't know how I feel about that. I might have to pass that one.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you would like it, to be honest, but it is very popular. It's doing well on Netflix, I guess. I'll say
it's killing it.
It's unique, which is also hard to come by today. And the guy who's starring in it, it's his like brainchild. He wrote it, he's directing, all that stuff. And I should say his name. It's so lazy of me not to do that. It is is it Richard Gadd? Is that his name? Yeah, Richard Gadd, I think. And it's just, they call it a black comedy, but I haven't picked up on much of the comedy, to be honest with you. But yeah,
you're like, it's not very funny.
And people will be like, oh, it's just British humor. You don't get it. I'm like, so which part? The raping, the drugging?
Oh my God.
The assault, which part? The neuroses, like, but anyway, yeah, so Richard Gadd, he is a Scottish writer, actor, and comedian. And I don't really know, this might be the thing that just launched his career. I haven't heard him before. If other people have, I have to call naivety on that. But it's an interesting show, and you got to give credit that it's acclaimed, it's doing well, it's unique, it's original, it's not a reboot or sequel of some other show, and it's at least capturing my attention and making me think. It doesn't mean it doesn't disturb me to no end. I've never had a stalker, as far as I know. I think I may have got close once or twice. I've done no stalking, but it's a very bizarre piece of programming. I don't know if you would like it though, Lacey, to be honest.
I don't know if I would.
Yeah. And then late at night, especially if I watch something like this, I can't go to bed without a palate cleanser. I pop on 1 or 2 episodes of Seinfeld before I go to bed every night.
I do that with The Office, or I used to do it on Netflix.
The Office is great. But you know, the Seinfeld on Netflix is back to the original releases of the episodes. So like TBS, I don't know if you had heard this, but like TBS and stuff would shave off time for more commercials. They actually, someone did a study and they slightly sped up Seinfeld also to make room for commercials.
I hate that.
So much so that you can't notice it, but still done.
Probably like 90% speed up or something like that.
So it's like still, yeah, you can't really tell. But the Netflix versions are all the original versions, which I know I'm rambling, but I got to say this because I love connecting with our audience. You know that. Me and my grandpa, my grandma is very sick and she might pass soon, which is just like very upsetting to all of us. And my grandpa's still with us and he's 93. He and I, when I was a kid, we would tape every episode of Seinfeld, and we kept this library of VHSs with every Seinfeld tape, and we had a log of which episode was on which tape. And now it's so funny. Him and I were joking about it. I'm like, look at all that work we did, and now all I have to do is go on Netflix and I can watch Seinfeld. And he's like, yeah,
you own it. I own it.
But we had fun doing it. We bonded over that, and that's a memory I'll always have. So, but yeah, Seinfeld for me is my guilty pleasure. So some old, some new. Watch Baby Reindeer if you want, Lacey. I don't know, but what do you? The other thing. Sorry, the other thing. The Presumed Innocent remake on Amazon Prime with Jake Gyllenhaal, produced by my boy J.J. Abrams.
You have it on Apple here.
Ooh, JJ, you okay?
In the notes, you have it on Apple. Is it on Apple or?
Oh, I think it might be Apple. You're right. But I want to check that out too because I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I like the original Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford, and I love J.J. Abrams. So, but that's all my stuff. I'll let you go first next week because I feel like I just went through a lot of things. But Lacey, what do you watch?
It's okay. I definitely have a bunch of things I need to watch, but things that I'm currently watching is The Physical 100, which is a fitness show on Netflix. It's a Korean show, so it's all Korean contestants, and it's like who's the strongest buff person. Which is funny because I'll sit there eating my pizza slices or my ice cream or my cookie, and I'm watching these guys that are like, 0% body fat, like trying to do these incredible things. And I'm like, I'll have some more popcorn, please. But it's very intriguing.
I'm tired from lifting my spoon.
Yeah, it's just really intriguing because just like with any Korean show that I've watched, I just finished a little while ago, The Devil's Plan, which is another game show. Oh my God, it was so good. It was one of the best shows I've seen in recent times.
On what?
On Netflix.
Oh.
And it's they get the like smartest, best minds in Korea and put them into this game show. It's so good. Please watch it if you haven't. But anyway, so Physical 100 is also a Korean show, so it's all subtitles, which I don't mind. I strongly believe that people are closing themselves off by not watching shows how they're intended to be watched, like with actual actors or contestants that speak their native language. I was a big person that said, you need to watch Squid Games with subtitles and let them act.
I think I did too. Yeah.
Like, don't watch them with weird voices. Like, come on. So I'm watching that. I'm watching The Circle, which is a reality TV show from Netflix, which is social media specific. So these people move into an apartment building and they each make up these profiles, and they're either a catfish or they're not, or they're themselves or they're their friend or they're a random person. And then the goal is to basically become the most popular person in the building while not being with anybody. So they used to film it over in the UK. I don't know if they claim now, I believe they said it might be in Texas or Florida or something. I don't know. Somewhere in the US, they're claiming that it is. The last one they claimed was in Chicago, and it was in the UK. But basically, these people come and they live in these apartment buildings, and they live through basically a Facebook, which is called The Circle. And every time I watch it, I'm like, I could win this. I could win this game show. If I go on this show, I could probably win. But then we'll see. I might get voted out first. I love Survivor, and I know as soon as I step on a beach in Survivor, I'd be voted off in 2 seconds.
Oh, definitely.
I'd be so annoying, and people would be like, get out of here. Out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I can't hide my faces or emotions. So on Survivor, you have to like play nice, basically. And not that I'm not nice, but I wouldn't be able to hold my face if someone was doing something ridiculous or doing something unfair. Like, I would want to be the person I'd be like, hey, that's not right. That's not fair. And then I go to tribal council, and then Jeff would be there. He'd be like, Lacey, why'd you say that? And I'll be like, I don't know, Jeff. And then I'd get voted off.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Be like,
I'd probably quit.
and then I just
Is that the song?
yeah, just
What's when?
torches out.
Hold on a minute. How long has Survivor been on?
It's been on. It's like one of the longest running reality TV shows.
But legitimately, like, when was season
I think it
one?
started in 99, right?
This is what I don't understand.
I think it started in 99.
They have 46 seasons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do they do? 2 seasons a year?
Yeah, they do. They do one every 6 months.
2000 it started.
I think Jeff Probst, no joke, makes like 36 mil a year. He lives on a yacht all year long. Like he just lives in the Caribbean, or not in the. He lives in Fiji. They do every episode in Fiji now.
62 years old, just living the dream.
Yeah, and he married one of the girls of the show too. So like he's really living the dream. Anyway, the last other thing that I've been watching is Homicide New York, which is from the creator of Law and Order, Dick Wolf. And it's the true stories of things that happened in New York. So he famously made Law and Order that's based on real life cases in New York. This is those real cases, with speaking to cops and detectives and, you know, the coroners and people that were involved and family members and witnesses. It's beautifully shot. It is a stunning docuseries, which I like. I watch those and I just geek out. I'm like, look at the lighting here. Oh my God, depth of field. Look at this stuff. It's just insane. They do this really cool shot where they have this guy sitting in like a diner, like a New York diner at night. And you can see the cars passing behind him. And it's such a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Or like my favorite moment was they interview all the cops talking about each other. And this one guy was like the casual guy. And the other guy's like, this effing guy shows up with his Yoo-hoo. He's like, who does he think he is? And it cuts to the next guy who's like, look, I just love Yoo-hoo. Like, that's the kind of dynamic of the interview. So it's just so good. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I haven't had a Yoo-hoo in forever.
Yeah, Yoo-hoo's pretty good.
Maybe I should go have one. I haven't had one in a long time.
Have a Yoo-hoo.
That's what I'm watching.
Very good. Yeah, and we want to know what you're all watching out there. You know, whether you're listening or watching. Wait, now that sounds like Moana or something, though.
No, it's definitely Survivor. And anybody that listens at home and goes, "That's Survivor," Lacey's really good at that. You've been voted off, John.
New intro music for this podcast. That's good.
And I will get sued.
You doing that on a loop.
Jeff Probst, what up?
All right. So that is it for what you're watching. And that is our last segment of the day. We are going to filter in other segments. We are going to do like a general movie news segment when there's a lot of movie news going on and a lot of other stuff. But we also want to hear from you, of course. Let us know what you think about the topics we're talking about. And if you ever have a topic that you think is bananas in pop culture and entertainment and you want us to talk about it, hit us up on social media at Nerdy and Nice Pod on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and we're getting onto the others, Facebook. We're getting there, but you can find us on all those out of the gate. And of course, you can comment on our podcast on Spotify and all that sort of stuff. So we want your feedback. And we also do have an email. You can email us at nerdyandnicepod@gmail.com. And let us know what the deal is. All right, Lacey, take us home.
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And on Thursdays and audio on Friday, you can find me on the Resistance Broadcast, a top-ranked and reviewed Star Wars podcast with this guy. That's at right. TRB Podcasts.
Yeah. And me, Johnny Hoey, on X, on Blue Sky Threads. I don't really go on there yet. Are they taking off? What's going on with those two?
I don't know.
I'm gonna vote Lacey off this episode right now. First episode. All right. We hope you all enjoyed this. Am I taking us out?
Yeah.
We hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, whether you're listening or watching. Thanks for getting nerdy and nice with us here on the Nerdy and Nice podcast. Again, follow us on social media, subscribe, tell your friends. If you were a Resistance Broadcast fan and you still are a Resistance Broadcast fan, welcome to this new show. If you just found us, welcome. If you like Star Wars, go check out the Resistance broadcast. Like Lacey said, Thursday nights, right here on the channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts, and the Resistance broadcast on audio feeds, and this Nerdy and Nice podcast on its own audio feeds. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate all your feedback. And before we leave, we have to give a very special shout out to our supporters who, I don't know that this podcast would exist without that support as we expand into other horizons. So a very special shout out to our top tiers on our Patreon. And if you want to check it out and you want to support what we do here, go to patreon.com/TRB podcasts. And for our movie star generals, thank you to Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brennan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, and Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, and our silver screen Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and THEFORTWORTHIAN. We, the two of us, will be back with you on Nerdy and Nice next Monday as we talk about all the latest things going on in entertainment and pop culture, movie news, trailers, whatever's going on. It's going to be a good time. And then, if you like the Star Wars, we'll be with you on the Resistance broadcast this Thursday, live, 8:30, right here on the channel, and then on your podcast feeds for TRB there. But until next time from us here at Nerdy and Nice, remember, Mondays are for the nerds. See you around, kids.